Get the great fighting game developer behind games like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear and give them a great IP and you get something magical. We saw it happen in 2012 with Persona 4 Arena and later Ultimax, and now we get the same thing with Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball FighterZ is one of the most approachable and enjoyable fighting games I've played in years, and more importantly, it's one of the best Dragon Ball games period. Dragon Ball FighterZ's story feels like an odd fanfiction story you'd read on DeviantArt or Tumblr. You play as the soul of a human who gets transported into the body of Goku. It's a terrible time for Goku to check out too, because Earth is in the middle of a disaster as clones of Earth's strongest warriors and villains are destroying everything. What makes things worse is that all of our allies have been kidnapped by the evil clones. Luckily, Bulma helps figure out that linking the soul of this nameless human, or us the player, to the heroes and villains in the story is the only way to figure out who the mastermind behind all this chaos is. The story mode is broken down into 3 arcs consisting of the Super Warriors arc, Super Villain arc, and the Android 21 arc. The 3 arcs weave together to tell an overarching story that can take you anywhere between 9 to 12 hours to complete depending on the player and if you decide to speed through the cutscenes. The story is primarily told through these cutscenes that play in between matches that look and feel like they're scenes directly ripped out of the anime. You get some nice witty banter between pairs of characters that play with a lot of the jokes and lore of the series. Finally, we can have a canon conversation regarding Krillin not having a nose. Like I said before, it sounds like fanfiction and it's very humorous. I do have an issue with the way the story flows though. Although the cutscenes look like they're ripped straight from the anime, the fact that I have to keep pressing a button in order to keep the scene moving kills the immersion. If you don't press a button to continue the scene, the background and the camera will continue to move around the character models, but the models themselves will stay static and it just looks bad. I appreciate that Arc System Works didn't just retell the story of the anime within their own game like previous Dragon Ball games. Instead, it's a unique story that revolves around the current series that's airing in Japan, though it's still definitely not going to win any awards for the best written video game stories. If you're currently watching Dragon Ball Super, this game takes place between the Golden Frieza and the Universe 6 arcs of the anime. Dragon Ball FighterZ is one of the most approachable fighting games I've ever played while feeling like a completely competent competitive fighting game. This fighting game adopts the 3-on-3 team battle system that's popular from Marvel vs. Capcom. There's 4 types of button attacks consisting of light, medium, heavy, and a special attack that's usually just a blast. More complicated moves like supers aren't actually that complicated at all. Most require you to press one of the button variations with a quarter circle and that's about it. Much like Arc System Works' previous Persona fighting games, Dragon Ball FighterZ even has its own auto combo input, 2 of them actually, that can be used by either pressing repeatedly the light or the medium attack button. Normally I'd be okay with their inclusion because one can easily just block the combo from ever starting, but the addition of the charge homing move in FighterZ makes it a bit more deadly and easier to abuse. However, a well-timed super or a general heavy attack can quickly stop the charge from leading into an auto combo. The addition of a relatively simple fighting system means that new players to the genre can easily get a grasp of the controls and quickly become more fluent at the game over time. It also helps that a lot of these moves just translate between characters. They're not the exact same moves, but they're activated the same way. Additionally, veteran fighting game fans can take these simple controls and mechanics and use it to their advantage in some combo-heavy gameplay fun that's both fun for the players to participate in and fun for the audience to watch. It means that overall, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a game for everyone. It's a game that everyone can jump into regardless of previous skill level or lack thereof, and that those with determination and hard work can become truly deadly at. Like I mentioned earlier, Dragon Ball FighterZ takes place in terms of the story in the middle of the current Dragon Ball Super anime. Because of this, you'll see old characters from the series but also new characters from the current run of the series. You'll get a total of 24 characters, one of which you'll have to unlock within the story mode, with more characters planned for the future as DLC. The current roster contains the likes of Goku, Vegeta, Majin Buu, Cell, Frieza, Lord Beerus, and Hit, just to name a few. There are some variations of characters too, like kid and adult versions of Gohan, along with Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God versions of Goku and Vegeta. The story mode itself will take you around 12 hours to complete, and it's handled with a board-like interface. In each chapter, you get a number of turns to move across the board as you fight enemies, save allies, and fight bigger bosses of the chapter. It's not just a fancy arcade mode though. This mode has you retain the same amount of health and stats that you end the match with. So if Goku gets badly hurt in one match, your best bet is to swap him out with another character in the next round as you let Goku heal. This is also partially the incentive to gather up more allies. You can also equip buffs that change up your stats, but I hardly really noticed them mid-match. It's an overall interesting take on the story mode, but not one that felt particularly better because it tried to be different. The arcade mode on the other hand does feel better because of how unique it is. Instead of being tackled by a list of enemy AI, arcade is handled by difficulty arches. Depending on how well you do in matches, i.e. the letter rank you get at the end of a match, you'll move up or down in the quality of AI to match your skill. It's a really neat way to handle arcade mode, and it actually makes you feel like you're being tested on your skill level rather than just fighting random levels of AI. The local multiplayer is pretty straightforward, but the online multiplayer is a pretty different story. Online you can play in either ranked and casual matches. It's all handled in this online chibi lobby area. You can set up the game to search for matches while you explore the rest of the lobby area or go enter another game mode like the practice mode. Once a match is found, you can choose to accept or decline the player that's been found. So far my luck post-launch has been mostly good. 70% of the time I found matches pretty instantly, and the gameplay felt like I was fighting a person that was sitting right next to me. The other 30% of the time it'd take about a minute or so to find another player before they just get disconnected, or there'd just be a noticeable delay within the gameplay when I actually started the match. This also made it incredibly more difficult to punish a player that spams auto combos or rush attack. There's definitely buggy things to iron out with the online at the moment. Actually, at the time of writing this review this morning, Namco Bandai was tweeting that PlayStation users were having some issues in the online arena matches. If you have yet to pick up Dragon Ball Fighterz and are watching this for mostly the online multiplayer, you may want to check out Namco's Twitter feed before buying the game, just to make sure that the online modes have been fixed. Now while you're playing all these game modes, you're earning points that can be used to earn loot boxes. Yeah, I know, no one really likes loot boxes, and I'm one of those people, but luckily Dragon Ball Fighterz doesn't pull a Battlefront 2. The loot boxes are simple cosmetic features like new character avatars and emotes that can be used in the lobby area of the game. Nothing like actual characters are locked behind the loot boxes, and quite honestly, by the time I've played through the story mode, some arcade mode matches, and more than a handful of online matches, I was already pretty much up to my neck in loot box unlockables. Dragon Ball Fighterz is very fair with its in-game currency, and never did the game feel like it was forcing me to pull out some real cash for the loot boxes. Dragon Ball Fighterz completely nails the visuals of the Dragon Ball anime. If you were able to turn off the HUD in the gameplay, you can easily mistake a scene in Dragon Ball Fighterz for a scene in the anime. The way characters move so fluidly and the animations transition into another, it's completely stunning. As far as I can tell, I didn't notice a drop in frame rate while playing the game. The visual presentation is almost perfect for a Dragon Ball game. Almost. There's slight decisions in the presentation that I think tarnish it a bit. I mentioned the odd pauses that happen in cutscenes if you don't press the button to continue the dialogue, but there's also weird choices like the fact that character models in cutscenes seem to run at a lower frame rate than things like the animated background. When characters move within a cutscene, it almost looks like they're moving in slow motion. It's done on purpose, but it's not a style choice that I'm particularly a fan of. For console gamers, the game runs at 1080p 60 on the PS4 and Xbox One, with that going up to 1600p on the PS4 Pro and 1800p on the Xbox One X. Despite the large margin between the enhanced and base consoles, it's pretty hard to tell the difference in the visuals during the gameplay because of how stylized and fast-paced it is. It's a good thing though, it means that you're getting a pretty good presentation across all the platforms. Dragon Ball Fighterz handles the music and audio very well, and once again like the visuals, it feels like it's just ripped out of the anime. Sound effects and music quite literally come ripped from the anime and fit right into the mix of screams, fast-paced visuals, and crazy bright blast. Whether you're a fan of the English or Japanese dub of Dragon Ball, you can choose which one plays during the game, and a lot of the original anime cast is here. If you play in English, there are moments where the lip sync can be a bit off, but for the most part, it's pretty intact. Like I stated at the start of this review, Dragon Ball Fighterz is one of the most approachable fighting games to get into while also being one of the best Dragon Ball games, period. That simplicity lets both new players get into the genre while letting more experienced players truly master the skill and leading on to some crazy fights that are a blast to be a part of as equally as amazing to watch. There are imperfections at the moment like the lack of an auto progress option for the cutscenes and a sometimes rough online experience, but as a general package, I can't doubt how much fun this game has been to play. I really do hope that Namco issues some patches to the servers of the game to get the online a bit more up to snuff, but even with those issues, I'm going to say Dragon Ball Fighterz is definitely worth a pickup, whether you're an avid fighting game player, new to the genre, or just a Dragon Ball fan. I think there's something to enjoy for every skill level here. That does it for my review of Dragon Ball Fighterz for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. If you have any questions about the game that I missed in this review, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below, or just hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat. Those links are in the description down below. If you enjoyed this review, then please consider dropping a like below and subscribe for more content just like this. If there are any games coming out in the future that you'd like to see me review, then let me know ahead of its release in the comments down below. As always, thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.